I got my hands on an iPhone 13 Pro Max about a week ago, and in that time, I've put in some real solid use for this, the follow-up of my preferred phone from last year, the iPhone 12 Pro Max. So how has it held up over that week? What's the good, the bad, and would I recommend you upgrade to this over the 12 or 11 Pro Max or even a regular iPhone? Let's find out. What's up, everyone? I'm the Everyday Dad, and if I can figure it out, you can figure it out. It's no secret that one of the most important things about cell phones for me is the battery life, and that almost 20 hours of life from the 12 Pro Max was the single main selling point of that phone to me, and why I personally have been using one. Well, the 13 Pro Max carries over that heavy burden, so let's get right into the video. First thing I want to mention in this video, while Apple did let me borrow an iPhone 13 Pro Max, this iPhone 13 Pro Max is my personal phone that I pre-ordered as soon as the pre-orders were available. Also, if this is your first time hearing about this massive phone, let's quickly dive into the specs and ordering options so we all know what we're talking about here. The iPhone 13 Pro Max is at the top of the line when it comes to the brand new 13 lineup. This comes in at a base price of $1099 or 1.5 iPhone 13 minis. For that price, you'll get 128 gigabytes of storage, a 6.7-inch Super Retina XDR display with ProMotion technology, the brand new 6-core A15 Bionic chip with a new GPU, a triple camera array with a telephoto, wide, and ultra-wide option, and a reported 25 hours of battery life. 25 hours of battery life. I didn't think any tech would surpass the M1 MacBook Pro 13, but those mad lads over at Apple R&D did it. They went and they did it. You can also get a version with 1 terabyte of storage, which is that's just another downright crazy thing to say for a phone, but you can get that here by bumping it up to the cost of $1599 or 2.2 iPhone 13 minis. Specs out of the way, let's talk about what I've liked and what I've disliked over the past week. And you know what, since this is new, let's give it a new start. Let's start off with the positives. And it's really hard to start anywhere else on the iPhone 13 Pro Max than the display. Much like the display on the brand new M1 iPad Pro 12.9-inch, this is gorgeous. Easily the best I've ever seen on a cell phone. Okay, let's walk that back just a little bit. Yes, the Z Fold 3 comes close, and if I were to objectively look at them, they're probably neck and neck. But either way, the iPhone 13 Pro Max's display is just incredible. It has a slightly smaller yet longer notch than last year, so you do get just the teeniest amount of additional screen real estate on top, which Apple really doesn't seem to have done anything with. Maybe an iOS update will take advantage of this? Question mark? I actually typed question mark. That wasn't just a question mark in the script. I actually typed out question mark. The real key features of this display for me are the 2,000,000:1 contrast ratio, which looks so good for HDR content, the 1000 nits of max brightness without HDR, and the 1200 nits of max brightness for HDR content. You add those three things up and you get super deep blacks and very sharp, accurate colors combined with the P3 color accuracy. Additionally, like I said in the spec overview, this display has Apple's ProMotion built into it, which is a variable refresh technology that can have the display go between 10 Hz refresh rate all the way up to 120 Hertz. And it determines that by what's happening on the screen. If you are scrolling or doing something that requires fast movement, it will bump that rate up. And if you are just staring at a screen, it will slow the rate down to conserve battery life. And I do really like this feature, but I like it more for the adaptive nature than I do for the strictly 120 Hertz. Yes, you can absolutely see things smoother in the faster mode, but it's a phone. It's a phone, I'm glad it's here, but I really like how it can save battery life when it slows things down. One thing to note on this section though is currently there are some problems with third-party software that are not able to get to 120 Hertz. Apple said they will be addressing this, so again, hopefully an update will come out soon. The next thing I've really liked are the cameras. But beware, gentle viewer, you'll see the cameras in the dislike section too. Ooh. Seriously though, these cameras are for real. I'm not a pro photographer or a pro videographer, but even in my quick tests here in the studio, these are very, very impressive. Normally, small centered cameras have real issues with studio lights, like the one I use in the studio. They can make skin look all waxy, and you'll get weird splotches or blown out highlights. But here, it looks darn good. Like, not good for a cell phone, regular camera good. And I don't know that I've said that about a cell phone or like an action camera system before. Not only do the straight out of camera images look good, but these files are robust. Now, I'm not going to bore you today with a discussion of bit depth or 422 versus 420 color profiles, but sometimes you can have a file from a camera that's pretty fragile, and that means the second you start adding contrast or other corrections, the image in the file just falls apart. Well, for the iPhone 13 Pro Max's main camera, I set up a normal shot just like this, and I applied a pretty serious grade to it only to have the image hold up real well. Yes, on the gigantic editing monitor I use, I can tell that the video is over sharpened and has a little too much skin smoothness that has happened in the phone's internal processor, but for YouTube, this would be an incredible camera, both inside and outside of the studio. It's also gotten some flack as a gimmick, but I do like the cinematic mode in the video settings. I, like many others, prefer to have a little bit of a background blur when I'm out and about recording. It makes it easier to keep the focus where I want it, generally me when I do that kind of stuff. And while the cinematic mode isn't perfect, you will see edge issues, again, if you are on a gigantic editing monitor. It's darn good, and I don't think I'll ever bring a standard camera around for vlogging again. Not that I do much of that now. And what's crazy is for this cinematic mode part, I'm specifically talking about the front-facing camera here. It's phenomenal. I also really like how easy it is to continue to share files across devices in the Apple ecosystem. No, this is not specific to the 13 Pro Max, but it was incredibly easy to move all of these files over to my Mac Mini for editing. The next thing that I've liked has been the battery life. Now, this is good, but it's not as good as I was hoping. I haven't been getting the earth-shaking numbers reported, like 28 hours. I have seen some folks online that seem to be getting that kind of battery life, and maybe in a couple of days the battery will stabilize after it's had a chance to process whatever it is new phones do. I'm really hoping that in the 1 month later video, we will have better news to share, but I'm not getting a whole week's worth of use. I continue to get roughly what I got with my 12 Pro Max, which is still pretty good in its own right, and it's why it's in the section of things that I like. I feel fully confident, and I don't have the same feeling that I need to ration my use here like I do with my 13 mini, but the 13 mini will get its own video here soon. Battery life, yeah, it will continue to get a thumbs up from me here. And it's not something that I have specific numbers for, but I like the power of the A15 chip with that additional GPU core. Doing all of that camera magic is not something that's easy to do, especially not something that's easy to do in real time, but the phone does it in real time without missing a beat. And that's, I'm trying to think of other words than impressive, exciting, amazing, but that's some real impressive stuff here. I haven't done any in-app video editing to show how crazy powerful the processor can be, but I've done a few video editing tasks in the Photos app itself, and that has been completely seamless without a single slowdown or hiccup. And unfortunately, we have now come to the end of all of the things that I've liked so far. I mean, look, nothing is perfect. Certainly no consumer technology is perfect, so let's talk about the things that I haven't liked so much. And the first thing I've disliked is the weight of the phone. Now, I'm specifically not talking about the size of the phone. I mean, it's basically exactly the same of the 12 Pro Max, and I like that phone a lot. But the 13 Pro Max has gained about 0.5 ounces over its previous iteration, mainly because of the bigger battery. It's got more battery heft. And because of this, it started really tipping towards being too dense for me to comfortably hold. Longtime viewers will know that I had this same complaint last year with the 12 Pro Regular, where because of the shape of the phone combined with that weight, it just makes it a strain on the wrists and the forearms to use for long periods of time. What I liked about the 12 Pro Max was because while yes, it was heavier, it was bigger, so it spread that weight out and it wasn't too bad to handle because no matter what you had to do, you had to two-hand hold the phone anyway. But the 13 Pro Max is like right on the edge, and I do kind of wish it were a little lighter because if I don't enjoy using the phone, if the phone like is stressful or not fun to use, it doesn't matter how good the battery life is, that just means I'll have to be unhappier longer because the phone lasts longer, right? Yes, maybe I've got to get stronger and do some more exercise, but this, look, this is just almost too heavy, and I don't like that. It's my video. The next thing I haven't liked is the macro camera. Okay, it's not that I dislike the macro camera, it's that I don't like the automated nature of the macro functionality. I understand why Apple made it this way. They want to make an experience where a user does not really need to think about it when they want to move between regular cameras and the macro camera. But because of this, it can be a pretty inconsistent experience. Trying to get a macro shot of a plant in my front yard causes the framing to switch as the camera switches between regular camera mode and macro mode, making it impossible to get the picture I want in some circumstances. You can kind of see this here as I'm moving back and forth. You can see the switch, and it's just an irritating experience if you aren't only doing macro shots of totally inanimate objects. I have seen on Twitter that Apple seems to be looking to add some more manual functionality onto the macro camera, and I really hope that comes in, because even just a toggle between the two would be so much better. And because it's an iPhone and nothing has changed for charging, it's time for me to complain about Lightning again. I hold out hope every single year that we'll eventually see the switch to USB-C on iPhones, much like we've seen for most of the iPads at this point. And unfortunately, in the 13 series, I'm let down again. I hate proprietary chargers and plugs, and I'm ready for Lightning to go away. I don't care what brand does it. I do not like proprietary chargers. Ugh, let's get rid of them. But at the end of the day, so what, right? Do I like the iPhone 13 Pro Max? Yes, absolutely. I think that this is actually a bigger upgrade than I think folks give it credit for, with the camera updates, software updates, and screen technology. Just because it's the same shape and look as the 12 series, I don't think that means that this is a small update. Would I recommend you upgrade to this if you already have the 12 Pro Max? No, not really. It is a substantial upgrade, but it's still an evolution and not a revolution of the 12 series of iPhones. If you want that crazy display, and if you want some real camera functionality upgrades, then yes, I would say go ahead and upgrade. But if you just use a phone to be a phone, no, you can keep what you got. For everyone else, I would say if you have a requirement for some of these updates, give it a shot, but I wouldn't buy it just to buy it. So figure out what you need and see if it aligns with the iPhone 13 Max, which is a pretty darn good phone. And if you like this video and you are now considering buying one of these, you should check out my video that you can find right here that shows all of my favorite accessories for the brand new iPhone 13 Pro Max. And you can find it by clicking right here. Click, 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 click. Thanks for watching.